So yeah, we used to have an amazing.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Whitman-Hanson Regional School Committee meeting of 5/7/25. I reminded the meeting is televised and recorded by WHCA TV. If everybody would join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We do have a public comment. Erin O'Donnell, if you want to come up to the podium over there. Introduce yourself, Erin.
Hi, I'm Erin O'Donnell. I live at 207 Waltham Street in Hanson. I've chosen to speak tonight because our override is only level funded, and we need to plan for the future and increase staff and programs offered in the schools. The school budget has been cut over 20 to 30 years, which has been detrimental to the students of Whitman-Hanson, but first we need to pass the override. Thanks for your support.
Oh,
That's it.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
No, that was it. Just Erin. Okay, student presentation from Indian Head Elementary School.
All right. William Trementer.
Good
evening.
In your group?
Tonight, we have members of our fourth grade student council coming to give a brief presentation on some of the things that they've been doing over the course of the year. As you know, this is my first year at Indian Head after being at Hanson Middle for 10 years. So one of the first things we did was look at the student council and try to find ways to increase participation. So we went from 15 students to over 40 students being involved in student council. So we're still working on how we're going to structure it for years to come, but that was our first step to get more students involved. So I'm going to introduce our student council moderator, Mrs. Campia. She'll give you a little more information, and she'll introduce our student officers for this year.
Thank you.
Hi. Not that tall. Thank you for having us here. This is a great opportunity to have our students here showcasing all of their hard work and accomplishments this school year. As Mr. Tranter said, I am Tricia Campia, the school adjustment counselor over at Indian Head. I am also the student council advisor. We do have about 50 fourth graders that join us in our student council meetings. We meet monthly before school. And as a group, the students work on increasing their school spirit by having a lot of theme days. They do activities to spread kindness throughout our school and community through various activities and donation collections. So this evening, I do have 4 of our 5 student council officers here who are going to all introduce themselves and share a little bit about some of the amazing projects that they have worked on this year.
Hi, I am Mackenzie Johnson, the president of Student Council. In December, we did a giving tree for people in need. We collected donations of hats, gloves, and jackets, and really any winter clothes. We did theme days all week before winter vacation. We wore hats and festive clothes. On Monday was white out or dress like a snowman day. Tuesday, the second day of the theme day week, we wore silly hats and headgear. Wednesday, the third day, we wore white or blue. Thursday, we wore winter sweaters, and last but not least, Friday, we had pajama day, and everyone wore their pajamas. By the end of the week, we filled our giving tree and collected many boxes of winter clothes and gear for those in need. Thank you. Hi, I am Ava Turner, and I am the Vice President of Indian Head Student Council. I am going to show you one thing we did for Student Council, which was Kindness Week. First, on Monday Manners, we encouraged wearing a hat to show hats off to kindness. Next, we had Thankful Tuesday to demonstrate peace, love, and kindness by wearing tie-dye, peace signs, and hearts. Then on Warm-Hearted Wednesday, we were sending the message, "We are all in this together," by dressing in Whitman-Hanson gear. Followed by Thoughtful Thursday, communicating to be a rainbow in someone else's cloud, inspiring all students and staff to wear bright rainbow colors. Lastly, we had Friendship Friday, when everyone wore pink and red, demonstrating give from the heart to show your love for others. By small acts, we hope to spread kindness and generosity across our community. Being a part of the Student Council has allowed me to share my ideas and spread service and love to a school I love. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Danielle Tanian, the Indian Head Student Council Secretary. Another one of the events we did this year in our Student Council was Spring Day. All students worked on a poster and decorated it to hang it up as a reminder for the coming events. We encouraged and reminded the school to wear bright colors on the first day of spring to celebrate. Thank you so much.
Hi, my name is Weston and I'm the PR of Student Council. A couple things that we've accomplished this year regarding disability awareness are wearing blue for Autism World Acceptance Day on April 2nd. We also wore mixed match socks on March 21st to support people with Down syndrome. In May, we will be wearing green for mental health awareness. Our officers wrote encouraging messages in chalk on the sidewalks for Student Council for students taking the MCAS. We also wrote encouraging notes and put them on the desks for students the morning of MCAS. At this morning's meeting, we made posters to congratulate the high school seniors who are graduating this year when they walk the halls. Thank you.
Thank you for your time, and I hope you enjoyed our presentation. Does anyone have any questions?
I don't have a question, I just have a comment. So I teach fourth grade, not in Whitman or Hanson, but I do know a lot about fourth graders. And so hearing you all speak, I just want to compliment you. You spoke so clearly and confidently. You read your notes so fluently. And I also think I was really inspired by how in a fourth grade level, you already have such a great sense of leadership and of inclusivity in your and really community focus. So this is really promising for the future to hear this group present today.
Thank you.
Thank you again for having us.
Yes, I wanted to add one more thing, if you're able to stay a moment, because I see future leaders here, and we have at the end of the table, Kayla Dawson is our student representative. She's a high school student, as well as 3 more students here. So I see that's a future for you potentially.
I can absolutely see our fourth grade leader is doing that someday.
Thank you.
Okay, with that, student advisory, your turn.
Hello again, school committee. As we approach the end of the school year, we're excited to share our final updates with you. This will be a fairly brief update focusing on 2 key initiatives.
First, our Courtyard Win idea is close to becoming a reality. It's currently in the final stages of approval, and we're optimistic that it will be completed before we graduate.
Even more meaningful is the bathroom painting project. We had the opportunity to collaborate with art students, Ms. Marr and Mr. Driscoll, to add inspirational quotes and creative artwork to several bathrooms around the school.
Please take a look at the screen to see the results. The students did an incredible job, and the artwork really brings the new energy and positivity to the space.
We're excited to present one more time this year, possibly next month or this month before our junior year comes to a close, kind of wrapping up on our final year accomplishments. Thank you again for your support. It's been a great experience working with you and contributing to our school community. Thank you. Does anyone have any questions or comments?
Well, comments. I have to say, you girls have been extremely busy, and you have accomplished so many of the things that you wanted to do, and we are all, I speak for everyone, that we're very proud of you and your leadership in the school and doing things like this that people don't think about. I mean, who thinks about the bathroom, really, right? And for you to do that and have inspiring messages, the trash barrels out, very important. Always can use more, right? So just some of the things that you have done throughout the year, we're just very proud of what you have accomplished. Thank you so much.
Right here.
I want to ask a question of you. What can we do for you or the future use to support your efforts and things that you'd like done? Is there any way that the school committee could, extend themselves more? Or
We were talking a little bit at the last meeting, saying like a lot of the stuff we had this year were kind of not like repetitive from last year, but like goals. And I think last year was like our rough draft year. It was like all of our first times, and we were kind of a mess. And then this year we were able to, like, working with Miss Byers, really like get the things we wanted to get done. But not that we're at like a stopping point, but I think just any ideas that you guys have going into the next year, we would like love the inspiration, because I feel like we got a lot of the stuff we wanted to get done this year. So like we're open to like complete new suggestions, and even to pass if any new members come next year. But like anything that you guys from like your perspective want us to do, we're like happy to bring that into next year.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Done.
That's a good question, because I was going to make this segue that because after tonight I won't sit at this table, so I will no longer be the outreach coordinator to these students. However, they are still your elected Student Advisory Council. So it would be my suggestion to those who will be on the committee on May 17th when you reorganize. Typically in the past we haven't chosen subcommittees, but I would ask that perhaps you think about that night one of you stepping up to be the student outreach coordinator, because they are still elected. We do have a June meeting, and perhaps if they need some guidance over the summer until next fall when the high school has another election. So I'll leave that to the chair and the superintendent, acting assistant superintendent.
So I'm George Farrow. I'm the assistant superintendent pinch hitting tonight for Mr. Simonak, who's with his family tonight at a gathering for his son. Next year, I will also offer my services to this group. I just think I've got to know you. I've got to see you every single morning, and I think it's easy. It does create a better liaison piece to answer questions, to get whatever it is. So I will not be obviously in the capacity of a school committee person, but I will be able to walk across the hall and go from there.
Thanks, George.
If I may,
Stephen?
I'd just like to say best wishes to you moving forward, educationally, vocationally, or some of you might be going right to the State House to work. So, best wishes to all of you, and thank you for all your efforts this year.
But they're juniors, so they'll be seniors.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Good. So make sure you pass.
We can't wait to see what you have for us
next year.
Keep up the good work.
Yeah, keep it up. Keep it up.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Okay, next on the agenda, we have the approval of the meeting minutes for March 26, 2025.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, any additions, deletions, corrections? Okay, seeing none, we will vote. All in favor of the minutes, please raise your hand. Okay, it's unanimous. Okay, superintendent's report, sir.
Okay, so I don't get to sit here often, which is a wonderful thing, but I would like to just take an assistant superintendent aspect here. Ms. Byers just said that she will be finishing her term tonight, and I want to say a couple of words because I have known Ms. Byers and her family for a long time, and going back to when I was the principal. So if you just indulge me, it's only about 12 seconds. So, but I am pleased to be able to speak about your commitment to civic duty tonight, as this is the culmination of 6 years as a member of the Whitman-Hanson Regional School District School Committee. I've been witness to your children growing up in Whitman-Hanson as a building administrator, and I've known you as a parent and a member of this committee. You have always displayed consistency, diligence, and perseverance to the beliefs that you hold true and strong, and to the students of our district in your role as a member. I want to personally thank you, and on behalf of the school district, I want to thank you for your school committee service.
Just a moment. Chair?
Thank you, Don. Thank you so much.
Chair, something happened at the State House yesterday where we were on the Hill, and Ms. Byers has been, last year she was recognized on the state level for being one of a shining star in school committee members, and people were asking about her, and they were, talking about her commitment to students, even on the state level, and her commitment to our students, and how much our progress here with our kids and our ability to start to really see better test scores that came from her efforts, and that it doesn't just extend here, that I'm going to cry because I feel like we're going to be losing one of the best representatives that we've ever seen here in Whitman.
Well,
Thank you.
We're certainly losing one of the ones who goes through our finances with a fine-tooth comb and has such knowledge and brings about such comments when the rest of us might not delve as deeply as we should or understand. And you understand. And I have always appreciated that, Dawn. Thank you.
Dedication.
If you'll indulge me for 15 seconds. If you will. I actually would like to say it has been a privilege to serve the Whitman-Hanson community and to advocate for student-centered policies. During my tenure, I strive to make improvements with initiatives like Safe Routes to School and Healthy Start Times, efforts grounded in research and aimed at supporting student well-being. Though some would dismiss my efforts as vanity pet projects, these were meaningful steps towards a healthier learning environment. Soon after joining the committee 6 years ago, I conducted a financial review and introduced the statutory assessment method to the superintendent. It did save Whitman taxpayers over $1 million in the budget assessment. However, these savings were seen by many as a relief to the municipal budget. I continue to underscore the need to reinvest in our schools to begin lifting the district out of the bottom 1%. Fiscal responsibility, as you just said, Chair, has always been a priority to me. I consistently sought transparency in budgeting and reporting, but many of my requests for information went unanswered or were met with resistance. At times, I was told that simply asking questions caused stress to staff, and I experienced treatment that felt more like harassment than collaboration. This made it increasingly difficult to serve effectively and uphold the accountability the public deserves. Despite these challenges, I remain proud of the conversations we've sparked around this table and the progress we've made, and we can always do better. I'm deeply grateful to those who supported the work throughout the years and continue to advocate alongside me for our students. Though I'm stepping down, my commitment to public education and the community remains strong.
And just a final comment, Dawn made sure that the town of Whitman understood that the other night at town meeting when she spoke about that we were at the 1% and are slowly moving up, but we shouldn't be proud of the 20%. And she made it very clear to everybody who was at the town meeting the importance of what we do here. So thanks again for that, Dawn.
Okay.
We'll be moving on. We have a couple of things to do with the business department. So, Stephen.
Thank you. We're going to start with our borrowing for the Whitman Middle School project. As I think all of you know, on the 1st, we were going to the market for $30 million worth of bonds. We had 2 syndicates that were showing interest, but at the bid deadline, both chose not to bid. One had stated that they did not have enough business in order to bid, and another had issues, again, with the late audits, us not being able to provide FY23 or FY24 audits. So discussions started taking place at that time. We were in a very short period of time in order to get borrowing done. We had an $8 million note that is due on the 15th of May. Back and forth with our Unibank representatives and also with bond counsel, it was decided to go out for a short-term borrowing. If we would have tried to push the bond market, the ratings would have been so high, it just would not have made sense. So ultimately, Oppenheimer chose to bid a $30 million bid, but it is a short-term borrowing that will mature on March 18th of 2026. So we just have about 10 months on that borrowing. We do expect, the 23 audit is well underway, so we do expect to have the 23 audit done, and then we will need to get the FY24 audit completed, and then we will be able to go back out to the bond market. This was all with state qualified bond rating, and we still did not have anybody, choose to bid on that long-term borrowing. So we are asking for votes tonight to accept that $30 million borrowing that will mature on March 18th, 2026. The language that needs to be read is quite extensive here for this vote. So I'm happy I have it written out if somebody would like to read it, or I'm happy to read it.
Is that my job?
It is, if you would like to.
Like 2 of this.
From here to the second page are actually. So from here to the back here is going to be that.
Okay, we hereby determine in accordance with General Law, Chapter 70B, that the cost of the Whitman Middle School project authorized by vote of the committee passed on September 13, 2013, be financed with proceeds from a portion of the notes defined below, together with other bonds and notes of the district previously issued to pay costs of this project, does not exceed the portion of the total cost of the project that is not being paid by the school facilities grant, and we hereby authorize the issuance of notes and bonds to finance this project under General Laws, Chapter 70B. Further, to provide for the sale of $30 million, 4.875% general obligation bond anticipation note, the notes of the district dated May 15, 2025, payable March 18, 2026, to Oppenheimer and Company, Inc., at par and accrued interest, if any, plus a premium of $42,000. Further, in the connection with the marketing and sale of the notes, the preparation and distribution of the sale of a notice of sale and preliminary official statement dated April 24, 2025, and a official statement dated May 1st, 2025, each in such form as may be approved by the district treasurer, be and hereby ratified, confirmed, approved, and adopted. Further, that the district treasurer and the chair of the committee be and hereby are authorized to execute and deliver a significant events disclosure undertaking in compliance with SEC Rule 15C, small c 2-12, in such form that may be approved by bond counsel to the district, which undertaking shall be incorporated by reference in the notes of the benefit of the holders of the note from time to time. Further, that we authorize and direct the district treasurer to establish a post-issuance federal tax compliance procedures and continuing disclosure procedures
in such forms as the district treasurer and the bond council deem sufficient, or if such procedures are currently in place, to review and update said procedures in order to monitor and maintain the tax-exempt status of the notes and to comply with relevant securities laws. Further, that the certificate or documents relating to the notes, collectively the documents, may be executed in several counterparts, each of which shall be regarded as an original, and all of which shall constitute one and the same document, delivered of an executed counterpart of a signature page by the document to the document by electronic mail in a PDF file or by other electronic transmission, shall be as effective as delivery of the manually executed counterpart signature page to such document, and electronic signatures of any of the documents shall be deemed original signatures for the purpose of the document, and all matters relating thereto having the same legal effect as the original signatures. Further, that each member of the committee, the district secretary, and the district treasurer be and hereby are authorized to take any and all such actions and executions and deliveries of such certificates, receipts, and other documents that may be deemed by them or any of them to be necessary or convenient to carry into effect the provisions of the foregoing votes. That's my motion.
Did we have a second?
Second.
Okay, Glenn, second. Question?
Discussion, yes. It's my understanding that when we're borrowing right now against the state, we're not just borrowing, we're borrowing against our Chapter 70 money and our state money, so our money to fund education. So before it would be, is this the correct? What happens? So regularly we'd be borrowing against our own, but we're not now. When we're using the state, we're borrowing against future Chapter 70 aid.
So the request for bid was for state qualified bonds. Nobody bid those. So this is not backed by the state, this short-term borrowing.
Okay, what is it backed by?
By us.
Okay.
And it's just, and at the time that the time is over, we will go out for the state bond at that time. Okay. Right now, if we accepted the bond that was going to be, it would be a huge amount to the town, a huge impact to the town for 30 years. This way, it's actually a smaller amount, hopefully. Well, we thought it was going to be due by November, and then Steve found out we had to until March. So that gives us a little leeway, but we're really pushing to get the 23rd done by the end of June,
The end
we
of
hoped.
June.
The end of June, and FY24 should be a lot easier because it's all on the Munis system, so it should be easier to come out. So we didn't have a lot of choice, folks, because we have $8 million to pay next week. So, yes, Dawn?
So we're borrowing, this is to borrow 30 million,
Yes,
and it's due and payable in 1 year,
Yeah.
on May
10 months.
18th?
in March. Yeah,
March of 2026.
March 26th.
I think she is.
And what is the risk here?
There's no greater risk here than the bond.
It feels really heavy. I guess that's what.
We needed to borrow anyway. So the risk is if our audits are not complete and then we're not able to go back out to borrow in addition, then
The building stops and doesn't get, it stops, right?
potentially.
Right,
Yeah,
right,
but
'cause
that's
we need-
always that is a risk always.
But, so rather than the 30 million, what was the first ask? Was it for more?
No, it was for 30 million. The projected amount of money that's needed to get us, we try to borrow within the fiscal years so that the interest and the amount to the taxpayers, we only have to push that to the taxpayers in that year, right? So we don't want to go out and borrow a full $70 million that we might need for the project in the beginning, because then you're going to start paying the interest on that.
Right.
So the 30 million was to pay the $8 million note, and then we need $22 million to get us a year.
Okay. So what is it? Is it just the short-term nature of it? I think that's
It's just
what
the
I'm trying to
short-term nature.
understand where the heaviness
When we go out and borrow for 25 years, then that's going to push that note for 25 years, and you'll push that amount to the taxpayers over that extended period of time.
Yeah. So right now, this is just to
Yeah.
10 months, and then
It's a bridge
do a
loan.
payable, and
Yeah.
then we're
It's a
going to
bridge loan.
refinance it in essence.
Yes.
We get a loan.
Technically, a
It's a loan
refinance.
until we get a loan.
Yeah, but I just wanted to talk through and make sure we're all getting the same story. Yeah, one moment, I still have the floor.
Yeah.
So that, I guess that's also the risk, right? So that's what we're saying. We have this short term, and then pending the 2 audits, we'll refinance. Maybe we'll be in a better situation, right? And then we can get the full term for that loan. Okay.
Correct.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Kara?
I asked this question, I think, when we originally had the Zoom meeting to approve this initial ask, right, of the state. So, but I just want to clarify kind of for the public again, who may have missed that meeting or whatever. And again, I am not in any way a finance professional, so I just want to make sure that my understanding is kind of accurate. So the reason that we're kind of in this predicament, for lack of a better word, is because of the technology breach from several years ago. And and because of that, the audits that are associated with those years have not yet been completed. In a normal situation, those would have been done already because we would have had the data. Now it's in Munis, yes?
Yes.
Okay. So this is not like, I just want to be clear to the communities that this is not like financial malpractice on the school committee's part or on our business department's part. It is a direct outcome of that secure technology breach that happened. That being said, I guess my follow-up question to what Dawn had asked is there any reason to think that those audits will not be able to be completed by the time that this is due?
No, we've submitted all of the documents today that have been asked of us to our auditor for FY23. So I do not believe that, it looks okay there. All of 24 is already in Munis. It makes it much easier. So 22 was really, the toughest one because that was the year of the breach. And then, each year after has
And that will put us in a much better borrowing position.
Yes.
Yes.
To negotiate. Okay, thank you.
George?
So if I could, basically our auditing company only takes the files from Munis. So because there were no files in the 22, you had a system before the breach, some was in it, and then you had nothing. So then the following year, we kept everything in Excel basically because we were rebuilding Munis. That's 23. So all of that then was inputted into the new Munis, worked out all the kinks in the background because we're still not in that year, and then that was submitted. We were on the 17th and being told we've heard this before, the final rendition of what's being asked. What are being asked now are copies of individual checks that the treasurer is going through from that time period. When that happens, like Stephen just said, we are already in 24 completely for the year. So now that's in Munis in the report that they want, that they like. So when 23 ends, we sort of archive that in Munis. Then we're into the part of Munis that's live, sort of. So that gets executed like it would have done pre-breach, and then it should be much quicker because you're not taking all the manpower or handwork that's done, providing it into Munis, getting the backup to go with it, submitting it, and then waiting for their questions. So that's where we're at.
Thank you. Thank you, Sue.
I want to thank, I'm sorry, Chris.
I'm sorry, just, I'll take it one more step dumber down from
I'm
where
not sure you
Karen
get
was
much
at.
dumber than my question.
Because even when she was at, I was like, okay, I still have questions. So this short-term borrowing, this $30 million that matures on March 16th, 2026, The intention is that by that point, again, all of these things, the audits have been resolved, so we can put that whole thing back out to bond, including the existing 30 million and as a refinance?
Correct.
Okay, so, worst case scenario here, that doesn't happen, there's an issue with the audits, it delays, it drags, and this and that and the other. Come March 16th, 2026, where are we at?
So, I mean, we'll work through that with our, with our financial advisor in Unibank, and they're very confident that we will be able, they wouldn't have went and sold this to us if we were going to default on a $30 million loan. It wouldn't have happened. So, we'll be working through this, it just doesn't stop, basically, the work. The question is, right now we don't have a bond rating. So that's essentially our credit score for anybody that doesn't know. So the audits, and that was the reason, not having the 22 audit was the reason that our bond rating was pulled. So then we went to the state to ask to be part of the state qualifier program, which allows us to use their bond rating. But they're still looking at the entity, even though we have that bond rating. So it will be, whether a bond rating is reinstated and what is it, or we go back to the state qualifier and bid, with a state-backed bond. Those are our two options, essentially.
And okay, Don.
Sorry to follow up. Can you share what factors that are in the control of this committee, decision-making around budgeting, impact the bond rating when it gets set? I have an idea, but I want to hear from you.
So reserve accounts matter. E&D balance would be a reserve account, and so those matter, and then your audits. Those are the two biggest pieces that are really going to get you a bond rating. And we're already at a disadvantage in Massachusetts as a regional school district because of the cap on E&D, where municipalities do not have that cap for, AA, AAA bond ratings. I've heard numbers as high as 15% for free cash in order to get at that top rating, and we're capped at that 5%. So we might never get to a bond rating that's comparable to a municipality. I don't know.
Might never get to the 3%.
Well, that too, but, even if we max our E&D, that's still not good enough for the agency.
Is there any other component that we could create other reserves, like a stabilization account?
Absolutely. Any reserve account is going to help.
Thank you.
There was another thing he said that he can clarify. Was it OPEB, or what was the second thing that we can make sure our bond ratings?
So OPEB...
contributions?
Yes, OPEB would help.
How are we doing?
We have not put into OPEB. I think I don't know the date, but it's been close to 10 years. I want to say right now our OPEB balance is under $400,000.
And I know that was one of the things Fred always pushed for, to put money into OPEB. So, I mean, it's something we need to be thinking about.
If I could just comment on the reserve accounts, we have to fund them out of the revenue that we have. So when we have difficult budget conversations already, but the conversation is, are we going to take $100,000 to fund OPEB, and where are we going to take it from? Because it is that give and take, and it would be the same way with any other stabilization fund. Regional Transportation Fund is something that I do believe that we should set up, not necessarily for a bond rating reason, but it just allows you to carry money forward if it's there. So.
Yes, Stephanie?
What is OPEB?
OPEB is other post-employment benefits. So it's funding our retirees' benefits that are not pension.
Okay. So
it's the non-teachers mostly, the OPEB. So, your aides, your nurses, nurses.
So just because he answered one part of my question.
Okay, wait a minute. You don't have your hand up. You haven't been, Kara?
Again, I know the answer to my own question, but I'm asking it for the public, and I'm asking it probably to the committee members who have been here longer than I have. Could maybe either you, Stephen, or someone on the committee speak to how often or how frequently we have used E&D over the past few years to fund the operating budget of the district?
This is the first year we haven't, and since I've been on the committee. And that's 5 years.
So every time we do that and deplete it, we're compromising our bond rating.
And one of the reasons that we aren't putting as much in E&D is because the budget was tight. And, you know, everybody watched what they, you know, put in for. And so when, you know, it's usually, you have a better, it's just like the towns have more free cash when, you know, maybe budgeting has been a little bit higher, so they have this leftover money. We really didn't have a lot of leftover money this year. And that's one of the reasons we said we're not using our E&D because, you know,
And it's been used on multiple, for many years.
we've had it over, you know, we've had over $1 million, so that we've used it, and, but no, not this year.
Thank you.
Yes.
I had the two-part question. So one was the OPEB and one was the E&D. And we're allowed to have 5 million in E&T, is that correct, or?
5%.
5%.
5%. Okay, 5%, and how much would that be?
I don't know off the top of my head.
I think it's much more. What we have, things
10%
roughly.
of 64. 10% of 64 million roughly is 3.
Oh, it's 3 million, okay.
Right, so it's about 3.2.
All right, so right now our vocational school is building, and they have maximized their E&D, and they have put themselves in a great financial position to borrow, and that's great. Right now, we're building a building at the same cost, and we have not done that. And where are we? Right now is at under $1 million, and how much?
600. It's ready.
Yeah.
660.
Yeah, so we really have to look at that.
Essentially.
Yeah, we have 1%.
Yes.
Yeah, I will say, since I think 2003, we've had this debate about, do we use E&D, do we not use E&D? And it always comes down to, do we try to do what's best for students for what they need in the community? And we've made those decisions. We've kept class size where we've tried, but it is that piece. Another piece that's also difficult when you get to E&D factors is that if you have a budget that is sort of run properly, that doesn't have a lot of excess in certain lines, then you're going to be putting less E&D in at the end of every year. So sometimes people who have a lot of E&D might have situations where they have the ability to carry over in different accounts, or they have the ability to keep things here, and if they're not used, then they slide already to E&D. In the last, probably since maybe John Tuffy, 3 people ago, we've tried to sort of streamline that to produce a budget that is sort of sound for what our needs are. And as a result, at the end of the year, sometimes, unless something unexpected comes from the state, there's not a lot even to put back in.
Yes,
I remember listening to John Madden when he spoke in 2019. He said, E&D for the regional school district is equivalent to free cash, and we hear that in the towns. And Madden explained it as an accidental result of budgeting, which is a result of what you said. So I would hope this committee looking forward will think wisely about budgeting, stabilization, you know, planning and properly putting funds for the purpose of reserves, and look at the certified numbers of the equivalent free cash from the towns, and how often they have told this committee, we don't have the money to fund your school budget, and they end the year with more than $1 million or $2 million in free cash. That's not an accident of their budgeting, though, I will tell you right now. It's perhaps very conservative in one sense of estimating revenues lower and expenses higher, so they end up with surplus. So keep that in mind as you go forward.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I want to thank you, Stephen, for working so tightly with, you know, our bond people and with Unibank and our lady at Unibank to get this process done, because it got a little bit nerve-wracking for a little bit the other afternoon. And so to work through this process and be able to keep the project going on time is very important. So thank you again, Stephen, for that.
Thank you.
So we need a vote. So all in favor of authorizing the short-term borrowing, please raise your hands. Okay, you have it, Steve. Okay, and Glenn, I guess you're going to have to sign something
Oh, yeah, I have to sign. Yep.
today, and then tomorrow you got to come in and sign some more.
Oh, boy.
Okay. You and I.
Do my best.
Yeah. We'll talk about it later.
Stephen, if you can go on to quarter three?
All right, quarter three report. So my apologies to those of you that didn't want to read 80 pages of numbers. But I did provide for you the first few attachments in the back were the undesignated fund balance activity, which is going to get us to our E&D balance. The FY25 year-to-date budget report through March 31st, the year-to-date revenue report through March 31st, and then I provided a detailed listing of all the revolving accounts. So our FY24 E&D ending balance was $616,288.77. The end-of-year report had been submitted to DESE. That should be FY23. Financial audit remains in process. And then FY25 end-of-year reconciliations, journal entries, and budget transfer planning is underway at this time, and I will be coming to the committee, I believe, on June 4th for required votes for budget line transfers. When you look at the year-to-date budget report and you look at that right-hand column and you see all of those negative numbers, or you see 135% spent or 200% spent, we will be working through those budget lines to balance each one of those, and those will be the budget transfers that I will be bringing forward. So we will get all of those cleared out. For quarter three revenues, goodness. Both Whitman and Hanson have made their third quarter assessment payments. Our Chapter 78 is expected to be $261,516 greater than what we had budgeted. The charter school reimbursement is expected to be $120,203 less. So every time they give us money, they quickly take it away. Regional transportation reimbursement is still unknown. There is some FY26 budget workings that include the FY25 transportation numbers. So as the budget went through House and Senate in pulling some of the money out of the millionaire's tax, some have asked for it to actually help us in this year. Some have asked for it to be fully for 26. We still don't know how that's going to land. Medicare reimbursement is expected to be $95,000 less than budget. When you add those items up, we're still within our budget in terms of our budgeted revenue, so I don't expect us to be under budget on revenue. Our quarter three expenditures.
Before you go on, Steve, just want to say, last year, the Medicare reimbursement actually ended up being more than we thought, right? Yeah. So there's a possibility that it could end up being more later on? Maybe.
So the reason that it was more last year was because there was a true-up from the prior year.
Oh, that's right.
So,
okay.
And then that number was used to then budget for this year, which is why this number is much less. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Cheers.
Oh, I'm sorry.
This, I think I know the answer, but charter school reimbursement, it's higher than what we budgeted for. Who determines what the charter reimbursement rates are?
So that number's from the state. That's just a cherry sheet item.
Yep.
So at the point that the budget was created last year, the budget hadn't been finalized, and so that's why there's that difference. But it's coming from our information, but then based on what the state is charging. And it appears that when Chapter 70 formula goes up, then that number goes up with it, which is in turn why we're charged more.
Right, so then you mean when Chapter 70 goes up, meaning the money we receive, the charter school tuition also goes up, so we end up losing Chapter 70 money.
Correct.
And
You're talking about reimbursement, not tuition.
Charter school reimbursement, meaning it's less than what we budgeted, meaning...
Shortfall.
Right. He answered
But you
it.
just said when Chapter 70 goes up, the tuition goes up for charter school.
I meant like what we get back in reimbursement for it. I guess I misspoke.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah. No, that's okay.
No, because
I'm just trying to make the point, like I think we don't have, like if a student wants to attend a charter school, they have every right to attend that charter school. And we have to pay whatever it is, and our reimbursement is not necessarily what we budget for. So what you're saying is last year, the budget was finalized in what, July? August.
It was late.
Very late. Our budget was already done. And so we had budgeted based on the cherry sheets like right now, right? Basically, which is what you've done already. And so these numbers fluctuate and we have nothing, there's nothing, luckily, it looks like we're going to be okay, but moving forward, this could be problematic.
Yeah, typically our total revenue doesn't go down from the first iteration of the governor's budget. That's typically. I don't want to say that that's
right, sure.
But the total pot of money is often the same. So you have different people that are arguing for different things. And so somebody's saying, all right, I want chapter 70 or formula, or I need something to go up. And then in turn, something else is going to come down. And then those are where those fluctuations happen from, you know, the different stages of the government budget process.
Sure. Thank you.
You have a question?
Yeah, Carrie, are you on the book? Because we're still on these things.
Oh, I'm good. I can wait.
Oh, yes.
I have a question. What is the difference between like the budget for travel and then like transportation?
So transportation is student transportation. Travel is normally like employees or teachers going to conferences, staff members that are traveling.
So for example, if it's our interventionists that travel from school to school during the day, that's what that line covers. If it's transportation, it's how to get kids to and from school, be that bus, be that van, be that what have you.
Thank you.
Okay, you're on that school thing. Yeah.
So Chapter 78 is expected to be greater by 261,000. I'm reading this. So right away I would ask, well, what would be a sound financial practice for this committee to have a conversation and decision if in fact we're going to get 261,000 more in funding, right? And then on the reverse is we're not getting as much reimbursement. What's not mentioned here is the charter school expense. So did you have any update on the tuition expense, whether that's going up or down?
I believe that it's flat, but I'd have to look at it.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, because I think overall there would need to be discussion. Do we have a surplus and do we want to put that in a stabilization account or something, right? Because it wouldn't have been in the budget if by chance we have that, or then if there's a shortfall, then decision has to be made, what line item is it coming from, really? Because these are assessments, these are reimbursements not coming. We thought we were, so now something else is going to suffer. So that's a conversation to happen, certainly at the end of the year maybe, or whenever that decision is. I would just ask, you mentioned that on the update overview, it says FY24 financial audit remains in process.
Yeah, that's
It should have been the FY23 if the memo can be updated to say that FY23 and 24
Sure.
are in process still, just because I think you're going to ask us to vote on this and I'd want it to reflect the right years that are still outstanding.
Ron, you had
I was just going to say that comes out to a $45,750 surplus. It's not much,
Right.
but it's better than a deficit, correct?
5,000.
Yeah, we could have a lot of fun.
Okay, Stephen, you want to
Vacation with it.
All right.
Oh, wait a minute, Karen?
Sorry, again, I don't even think I need to get into the detail item if I think you're going to answer my questions here, but looking at the items on here that at the end of Q3 are already in a deficit, are not surprisingly transportation expenses, which are, am I reading that right? Which are significantly high, have consistently statewide been significantly higher than anticipated. So that's over $550,000, and we'll at that rate probably closer to $750, right, or $800 by the end of the year. Would be that?
Yeah, so but the reason that those are in the negative is because we're awaiting reimbursement in order to transfer those expenses into a different account. So some of those will get cleared up as the tuition line that's in the negative will get transferred to the circuit breaker and also to the 240 grant, but we transfer those as the funds come in.
Will those, do you have any sense of what percentage of those will be covered by those at this point? Well, they won't be covered in their entirety by those, right?
No, but it will be based on the budget is where we would start.
And then my other question was just the tuition line there. Does that include both special ed tuition and like, and charter school and vocational schools, or is that just?
So it's just tuitioned out students. There is, so it may not include all special ed students.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, Lynn?
Has it always been this way where the reimbursements come after the budget? That's how it is. So it's basically blind budgeting. Why is it that way? It just doesn't make sense.
Yeah. The state's giving you the money as their tax revenues coming in.
I get it, but
It's hard to do a budget, that's why it's hard to do a
flip
budget.
the well, budget a year ahead. I don't know. There should be a way to know what you're getting.
You should have come
Yeah.
yesterday and said that. We were talking about budgets.
I don't think it would have mattered. Like everything else.
Okay, go ahead, Steve.
All right, on to the expenditures. So we talked about budget transfers and journal entries that will need to be completed in order to move expenses from the operating budget to the other funds. I've provided this chart here that these are just sample categories, the way that I've categorized the budget, but it doesn't mean that we couldn't break this down in different ways. It gets to be difficult in trying to separate the budgets into different categories, whether I just give you all of salary. Sometimes you like to see it by location, so I want to see just what is at Indian Head or not. So if people want to see things in different ways, we do have reporting capabilities. Certainly let me know. And so you'll see that's the full budget there. This is year-to-date expended through March 31st. These are pending encumbrances that are still open, and that's what the end of the year, or the available budget is at the end of March 31st.
Thank you.
So I am looking for a vote, but happy to answer other questions if there are them.
Beth?
Oh, I'm sorry, yes.
So just looking at the bottom line here with the total available budget 13, call it 13.3, with a salary line of 13.6. But again, some of these encumbrances are money that will be moved in from circuit breaker, moved in from other reimbursements and so on. So us seeing a 13.3 against the salary line of 13.6 doesn't mean we're not.
No, it's close. We're close, but we have transfers that need to be done in terms of circuit breaker and some of the grants, which are $1 million plus transfers. Yeah. So is it very close? Absolutely, it is close. But right now it looks.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, can I have a motion? For Stephen?
Motion.
My second?
Second.
Okay. All right, so, all in favor? Okay. Yeah, okay. You have it.
And Stephen?
Thank you, Stephen.
Thank you, Stephen.
Yes.
Moving on to B, annual town meeting results report. I had the privilege of attending both town meetings. I was here for the Hanson one was held here, and then we moved on to the Whitman one as the superintendent and Stephen Marshall stayed at the Hanson one. This was the first time in a long time it's been held here at the Performing Arts Center. There were over 300 people for the Hanson one, and there were, I want to say it was somewhere around the 190 range.
194.
What was it?
I think it was 194.
194.
At the initial count.
Yeah, the initial
That
count.
came in after.
At the initial count in Whitman. The two major pieces that we had is that in both towns are moving to an override vote on May the 17th. And the second one is that both towns passed the non-mandated busing. I know in Whitman there were no questions, it was just part of the Article 2, and so that is taking place.
Yeah, okay, thank you. And all the capital items that Hanson had already approved, Whitman approved.
Yeah.
Yes.
So we can go ahead with the E-rate on those different articles that we had, so, which is a great thing, because I think it was Mrs. Otina who got up and thanked the school department for the E-rate, because she said it saved Whitman about $100,000. So.
Yeah, we had 7 articles, and to match what took place in Hanson at the special town fall meeting, and we have now with E-rate funding coming in, we'll have until September 30th before those expire. So we have to have it in, have to have it installed, purchased, and be ready to go. There was one question on the Whitman about the access points that are going to be installed, and yes, they will be installed at the Whitman Middle School now, the current existing Whitman Middle School, because those students also need access, and they are like a plug-and-play model, so that can be taken out. There are strict rules as what can be taken from one school into another. Some of it is what's called FF&E, and however, they can be used anywhere in the district outside of it. So anything and there's not a lot, trust me, anything that's at the Whitman Middle School that can be used somewhere else in the district, and that's completely acceptable. There are rules and regulations, though, about what from the existing building can be brought into the new school.
Yes.
Just something to add, and I spoke to this at the Hanson Town meeting, and for us on the committee, I think it's important that the people in both towns understand that we as a school committee have authority over the school budget. And so in Hanson, they voted a contingency budget if the override doesn't pass, and I said that that's not the assessment number. I was told, well, then your budget just isn't passed. I didn't make a thing of it, but then I was reaffirmed by the finance committee chair that yes, in fact, and I guess my point is, if the overrides fail, the way it was, the budget lines were in Hanson was it's this much cut from this department, this much cut from this department, this much cut from this department. It's important that we all understand and that the people in both towns understand that that does not mean that the school department is making any cuts. We are back at another town meeting because as what happened last year in Hanson, we are the ones who have the final say on our assessment and on our budget. The towns cannot dictate they can tell us we can only afford this much, but if we say, no, that's not going to service our students, like we did last year, that same process is in place. I think, obviously, we have a lot of work to do in the next 2 weeks to get the word out, but I think that that's an important part of this process. I think there is a misunderstanding, maybe not so much in Whitman because I wasn't at the Whitman town meeting, but I do think in Hanson, perhaps because there were two numbers voted, that there are people who think that the school department will lose $940,000, not understanding that then it goes to Whitman and there's a cost associated there as well. Which
would be a 1.2.
Which would be, right. And so, I'm gonna try to explain that to people through email, begrudgingly, perhaps through social media. Though, to be honest, I have not been doing that because there is no fact checking on Facebook. And so anybody can post anything and you can't report it as false. And I just find it a useless exercise. However, I will perhaps try to do that, but I just think if you're at the fields talking to people, if you're holding signs somewhere, that is an important thing to let folks know that if the override passes, we're in good shape. If it doesn't, we're still back here and we could find ourselves, and I think it's important too that one of our select board members said it, to cut $940,000 from the school budget would be draconian. Right? So, and you make it 1.2 million, what are we doing?
It's over $2 million
right, well,
the cut.
That person was speaking about just Hanson's side of things. So we would still want more than that, and now you're gonna have to make cuts to other departments. And so I think that that's part of our message to the people in the towns, because I do think there's a misconception there.
I agree.
I just quickly, I think one of the points that were brought up, what does an underfunded school look like in Whitman? And thank you, Mr. Marks, for speaking on the one piece of paper that their child had. That was a small thing in a bigger picture of lots of small things like that. But also, everybody keeps looking at the educational line in the budget and thinking that that's Whitman-Hanson. Right. And it just isn't Whitman-Hanson. And the more you shrink our budget, the more you grow that educational line. So there's no cost savings in underfunding this line. So we do a disservice to even cut this budget and drive families into more expensive options to the people whose desire it is to pay in a more cost-efficient way. So I don't see, if we grow the educational line, we still push out fire, police. Those jobs are still gone because you can't say anything about a charter school, like you said. You can't say anything about extra seats or other places they choose. So we are your best bet. You know, we are, and we do it well, and we do it connected to the community. So just fund us so that we can be competitive to these things. George?
Just to Hillary's point, I do think that the selectmen in Whitman, especially the ones who worked on the forums, stressed quite a few times that if it's a failed, that if the override fails in Whitman, then the school budget has to then still be determined by school committee. Like, they were quick to say that there are no authority that the Whitman selectmen have in order to say you must accept this. So I think, you know, that there's been a lot of times over the years where maybe we're not in sync, but I would give credit to the finance committee and to the selectmen in Whitman, because they were clear every step of the way that if a failed override, it goes back to the power that rests in the school committee to do what, raise, keep, lower, but it's not their decision.
They said that at every forum, so it was really very clear. So it's very good. Okay. Yes, Karen.
I had posed a question at Hanson Town Meeting that I think was perhaps misunderstood. Or
I don't think it was.
Poorly received, I don't know.
I heard you got poorly received.
But it was about the fact that the contingency budget took $940,000 directly out of the Whitman-Hanson Regional School District line item and did not show any similar reductions for South Shore Tech or for Norfolk Aggie. And I think, you know, the others, there was a conversation that it was a matter of semantics. It was all out of the education budget. But my point, which I was, I think, trying to communicate, was that in reality, that $940,000 that you're suggesting we reduce is directly going to hit the Whitman-Hanson budget, because we do not have it in our power to take any of that out of the vocational budgets, of those budgets, because we do not have enough power, I guess, authority to do so. So I think that, you know, there was a comment about the relative number of students that attend those schools versus our in-district schools. And I think that the protections that are allowed to those students' educational experience that are not allowed to students' educational experience within the district is an important thing for us to know. So I just want to kind of get that out there, maybe more clearly than I did the other night, I don't know. But I think it's important to be mindful of.
Yes, Stephanie.
I would just like to say, I know at the meeting, at Whitman's town meeting the other night, they were specifically asking about different schools and Norfolk Aggie versus Bristol and all of that. We have, I believe, one student who goes to Bristol.
Norfolk Aggie.
No, one to Bristol.
That's what I asked.
Yeah, one to Bristol.
And that one student, between transportation and tuition.
Well, it was just tuition. Well, the tuition first, and we don't know what the percentage was on the transportation.
Yeah.
No, they didn't break it down for Dawn.
No, I tried to ask.
She tried.
They weren't transparent.
But
$30,000 for the
$28,000 to $30,000.
for the student to go to Bristol, and then there's tuition on top, there's the.
Transportation on top.
Yeah. So I don't know, because I'm still figuring all this school committee stuff out, but that sounds like there might be some reason for us to talk with Mr. Simonak about, you know, signing off on everybody going where.
You can't. That's FAPE. It's FAPE. It's FAPE. We would be violating FAPE. It's the law. FAPE means free access to public education. So every student in the state of Massachusetts is entitled to a public education that they see suits and fits their needs. We do not have the authority to do that. We don't. We would be hit with a lawsuit in a second. It's a ton of money. It's a ton of money. I think the problem is, and it's the same with charter schools, and it's the same with special ed tuition, it's beyond us. It's at the state level. It's how are you allowing a school to charge this much money for tuition? What are they filing audits? What are they doing, right? The cost, I think John said, for a student to go to social voc tech at Whitman, a Whitman student, it's $29,000. I think you said that number at a meeting a few weeks ago. That's almost $10,000 more than what we pay per student. So what is happening? That's the issue. I don't, and I'm a public educator and I'm on this school committee and I see this and I'm like, oh my goodness, but I'm telling you, and Ms. Otina and I were just talking about it before this meeting, there are students who are not built for a traditional school like this. And for us to say no to those students would be doing them a disservice and you know, not allowing them to have access to things that are going to help them. So, you know, I think the issue is beyond us. It's way beyond us, and it's fate, plain and simple. George?
If I could just give some context, there were, going back to the old days when I was a principal, there were specific towns that tried to put caps on students that were allowed to go to vocational. And then there were towns that did not let those students have access, did not let those schools have access to the middle schools when they were in 8th grade. That has been challenged. There are definitely regulations now about what we can and cannot do and what we have to do in order for them to be able to let students in the surrounding to the member towns. Quite a difference, though, that happened about 4 to 5 years ago in agricultural schools especially, is that they changed it. It used to be I think there are only 9 agricultural schools in the state. So there used to be the piece that said, yes, you are free to go to that agricultural school in the town in which the region that you live in. So all our kids went to like Norfolk. However, they changed it and said, unless there is a program that you feel you are uniquely qualified for that's only housed at another school. So at that point in time, it was flowers. I used to live in Somerset, right next door to where Bristol Aggie is, but a lot of kids went for the floral preparation at Bristol Aggie. Then somebody came up with, they had this frog thing, and they were gonna all grow up to be veterinarians with frogs, and so people went there. So there was this like change in agricultural schools that now more students have access to them outside their regional area, thus increasing costs like tuition, transportations, and things of that nature.
And we are required to put transportation for those students to get to those schools.
The town.
The town.
The town.
So what we saw was as a taxpayer, like we're required, not required as a school department.
So the town is required.
Okay, Garrett?
I don't want to belabor this, but I want to be really explicit that in no way do I want to limit the opportunities for students to attend vocational schools. I think that giving students college or career readiness, whichever is appropriate for them, is critical. I certainly would never argue that a student with a disability should not get the services that they are fully entitled and legally entitled to. Charter schools I could have a longer conversation about, but I think for a certain population, I think that it is an appropriate move. My argument is much more about the fact that when town departments, town boards propose a budget cut for the school department, which is not technically in their purview, that cut is not coming out of any of those places, and it is coming out of the majority of the experience of our student population who are housed in these buildings in our 2 towns. And that, for me, is something I think needs to be really clear. It is not equitably distributed across all student services. It is really highly concentrated. So $2 million over the 2 towns is a huge number, and then when you concentrate it to just the students that are serviced within the school buildings in these 2 towns, that is an even more significant impact for those students, and that is the majority of the student population we serve. So that was I guess the argument I should have made at town meeting, and didn't, but that's kind of what I was trying to get across.
You made it, they didn't want to listen, that's all. Just quickly, the idea that we can do nothing to have people is we've got to get that out of our heads, because we can do it. We can fund it in a way that we retain students, add programs, and the idea that we got up and we had to defend adding a teacher is costly. People don't understand. That's fine. We don't have that teacher. We don't have that class. They go to somewhere more expensive. They're disconnected from their friends. They're disconnected from their community. They have long bus rides. And we could have done it at a quarter of the cost right here. But the short-sightedness on how to fund education And they never really save overall. They keep saying, our educational budget is growing. It's because of the penny wise, pound foolish mentality that people have to educate themselves. We are your bargain, and we are your solution.
And I think what, one of the comments that you hear is, everybody needs to tighten their belts, including the fire and the police. They were talking about everyone. All the, town budgets, including schools, need to tighten their belts. And it's, I want to say to people, what is your budget at your house? Has your food gone up? Has your electricity gone up? Has your gas gone up? Has your insurance? Look at ours, 11% up this year. That's what happens because we're a municipality. Whitman-Hanson Regional is a municipality, and we handle our own insurance. We handle all our own, the OPEB. That's ours. That's not Whitman's or Hanson's. We have our own. Those are all our responsibilities. We have our own insurance to the non-teaching faculty and employees. So people need to understand that, yes, our budget went up. It's level service, but our budget went up because all our costs went up. SPED has gone up. What was it, over 200%?
27% since FY23.
27% over in 2 years. So, that's what people need to understand. We are not. But I also explained at one of the forums in Hanson that when it comes time for school at the end of August, they're going to see new teachers hired, and they're going to say, oh, they added positions. And no, we haven't. We're filling positions that were needed. That people retired, people resigned, people have chosen not to come back or go somewhere else, and those positions still need to be filled for level service. So I put that out there, like I said, to the Hanson one, and I didn't to the others, but I think that's really important because we usually see that complaint.
We shouldn't.
And we shouldn't, anyway. But we see that complaint. You said there wasn't any additional teachers, and you're hiring all these people. Well, because these are positions that already were there. So that's what I need everybody to understand. Yes, Stephanie?
And I just want to point out for Whitman town residents, on an average home of, I think they said 497,000,
yeah, something like that.
It's going to be $31 a month. I spent more at Supreme on or I spend almost that much at McDonald's when I go. So true, right? I get our budget's going up. People's salaries are not going up, mine included.
Yeah.
However,
mine included.
$30 a month is going to preserve what our town Whitman has. I'm not exactly sure what the number worked out.
It's about 60 something.
60, so the average house, like 515,000, I think they said. So it came out to about $700 something a year.
Okay.
Which, if you look at what the superintendent proposed, one of the things that I've been talking about is increasing user fees for athletics.
Yes.
Right? So I think personally, right, I have 3 children. If in 4 years' time, 2 of them are at the high school, and right now they're 3 sport kids. If they play 3 sports, that's $3,000 that I will be paying for them to participate in their school activity. My taxes won't increase that much in a year. I don't even know if they'll increase that much over that many years. And then forget it when my 3rd gets into the high school, because I'll have 3 at the high school at the same time. $4,500. $4,500.
If we raise it to 500.
But those are things that people need to understand. That's a tax on me, on a parent who, and I think what you're saying, I just think getting the information out there, everybody can make their own.
Make your own decision, what you can afford or not.
Yep.
Can I make one final comment, and since I won't go on another?
Yes, Miss Kara.
I also think that something that has come up in the budget forums that I was a part of, as well as town meeting, is tax relief for seniors that is out there. And I think that the extent to which we can continue to encourage that, knowing that this presents an additional burden on our citizens with fixed incomes.
And I know Mr. Galvin, John Galvin is starting, they have already started a group that is, what they're going to try to do is to get people to donate money for a fund for the seniors to be able to get money from. So they're trying to do that. I guess they had formed it years ago, but they never did anything with it, so it's back up and running, which I think is a great idea, because if you could get it's almost like a GoFundMe for seniors, so it's.
To give credit to that, sorry.
Okay, all set.
Just to give credit to who did that, it was our assessor who discovered the fund and reached out to find people to start to put people in it, our new assessor. Just
very good. Okay, graduation update, sir.
So if we're moving along, we're at the graduation update time. It'll be May 30th. It'll be at 6 p.m. It will be outside. It'll be in the same fashion that the last 3 or 4 have been since we moved it outside. And that is on May 30th. However, on May 29th, inside in our Performing Arts Center, will be at 6 p.m., will be the Community Evening School graduation also. If there is the potential, I get a little nervous even saying this without knocking on wood, but if there is the potential of inclement weather, it will be, there's some discrepancy there. Originally, it was going to be Saturday at noontime, but I do believe it's going to be Saturday at 10 a.m. So, we'll get out there, we'll wipe the seats, we'll go from there. My role, Nikki's role is more of on the facility side at that night, and we have golf carts, we bring everybody up. We have parking, we have all of those things, but if there is an inclement weather day, and we did have one of those a few years ago, if there's dew on the seats will be dry by the time somebody takes them and sits with them. But it'll be on that day.
So you all got an invitation, and you all get this.
If it rains.
You put this right in your windshield when you drive up, and you get to park up here, and some of the folks will come and pick you up in the golf cart and drive you right over.
Yeah.
So it's,
We'll take care
it's a
of it.
little
VIP.
privilege. Usually it's Molly Farrow who does the up here, so. Yeah. It's very well organized, extremely well organized. So
how, I'm interested in the May 29th. Is there a time we need to show up? Because I'm
Usually
really
it
proud of
starts here at about 5:30. Usually the gathering for a community evening school is right here in the library. It's a time when you get to see the students. There's both faculty from the night school and there's faculty from the day school who knew these students in their path. So it usually starts here with families, and then they proceed to the PAC, to the John McEwen PAC, and then it takes about an hour. But,
school committee members sit up on the stage.
Yeah.
And so if you can go, it's really wonderful.
Please go
It's
an exceptional time
It is.
for the students who go to graduate.
Yeah, I've been in the last 3 years. It is really wonderful to see these kids, and they've worked hard to get where they are, and extra time.
Or it has not been easy for them.
No, it's all, all tough, but it's great. Yes, Stephen?
I have a son who graduated from community evening school, and his birthday's May 29th. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's a great program for the students that cannot, just do the daily project, but they have such a good program, such good teachers who run the program, and it's not a long night, so you don't have to worry about, but if you can give about an hour of your time, it's a wonderful thing to observe.
You'll feel better for it.
Yeah, you do, really.
Just quickly.
You feel proud.
Just quickly, I think sometimes children don't get to be children at a young age, and they have obstacles that are in the adult range. And for these children to have the struggles that they have, I'm not pitying them, I'm inspired by them. I am inspired, and I want to meet these people that had struggles more so than others, that still fought through, and I want to be there for them to cheer them on, because they're an inspiration.
And they are very excited too, so it's really neat. Okay.
Physician's appointment. So basically what we would need is that we would need a motion to reappoint Dr. Belcher as the school physician once again. If that motion is passed and accepted, then we will write the letter to Dr. Belcher appointing him, and we will go from there. It's our standard yearly. We need to have a
motion to approve. Dr.
Second.
Belcher.
Okay. Any questions? Okay, all in favor? Okay, unanimous, all right. Before we go to the donation, I would like to make a suggestion. Our next meeting is for reorg on the 19th. I would like to change that to Wednesday, the 21st, In the past, there have been, I don't know why it was ever put on Monday. I find that is very difficult for some people. If you are not at the election results, or if your, town clerk doesn't, to get sworn in at that point, and you work Monday, you don't get a chance to get sworn in. Happened to Hillary a couple years ago. And I know when I was, I think it was a selectman, when I got on that, I was at a concert that I had, bought tickets from like a year ahead of time, and I couldn't be there that night. And then I was working on Monday. So had I been on school committee at that point, I wouldn't have been able to be a school committee member that Monday night. So, and plus our meetings are always Wednesdays anyway. So I just thought, why don't we change it? It's not a big deal. It's just moving it up a couple days, but it gives everybody a chance to get sworn in and become real members of the committee, so that there shouldn't be any, and that gives you the Tuesday, if you work, you get till Tuesday night, because they're open, both towns are open Tuesday evenings for you to get sworn in. We usually have it at 6. If that is an issue, we can always talk about changing it to 6:30. But first of all, I'd like to see how everybody feels about changing it to the 21st. Yes, Chris?
The only issue is, isn't that the science night here too?
It is.
Okay.
But, we talked about that. It is the science night here, but it means maybe you have to park down lower or something,
Is the library used during science?
No, but parking,
It's calm.
yeah.
Right,
I don't think they use them.
I don't think they use this.
Yeah.
Cafeteria?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. So they don't use here anyway, so, yes.
I just won't be here then.
You
We'll let you off the hook.
Yeah, you don't have to. It's just a reorg meeting, so you don't have to be here that night, okay?
But we love when you're here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll be making stress balls in the cafeteria.
Yeah, that's fun.
Oh, yeah, you want to do that.
Yeah.
Kids will be stressing you out in the cafeteria.
Yeah.
So just send some our way, we might need some.
Not for nothing, but it would kind of be cool for the school committee to get out. I know when my kids were younger, we would go to the science night, but like if we're already here, we could all parade
Go check it
down,
out.
go check
Take
it
a
out
peek.
too. And everybody knows it happened to me because I have 3 kids doing way too many things, and Saturday I was probably on a field when things closed, and I worked full time and couldn't get to town hall. And, I think it's a great idea.
Yeah, but I know in the past it's been a problem for other people too, so how's everybody feel about that?
Great.
It's fine. Wise guy over there. Everybody okay with that?
I think it's
okay. Do you want it 6 o'clock okay, or is that too difficult?
What time is the science night?
It's 6:30.
6:30, I think.
6:30. The same I think keeping things on the same day is best for the public.
It does say 6 to 8, actually.
6 to 8 is science night?
Yeah.
6 to 8, yeah. So, I mean,
You'd show up at 6 and do this at 6:30. Like, if you wanted to go see science
That's a good
night,
idea. It gives us
you
an
could
opportunity to
go see
swing by
science night and then just be
and then
here
go back again.
for 6:30.
Or conversely, you do this at 6 and then pop over there.
Yeah.
I'm hip.
I know, I
I'll do it
just
at
want to make sure people,
I'll do it at 2:30 in the afternoon.
My kids will be here anyway.
I want to make sure people can get here at 6, if you
be here.
can't.
It's all on Glenn, I think.
Yeah.
I'll make
I just
it.
work, you're okay?
Might be 6:05.
All right, so we'll do 6. All right. We'll do 6 o'clock on the 21st instead of the 19th. So would you change the calendar?
I'll take care of it.
Thank you for that. Okay, Hanson Middle donations. This is very nice.
Yep, so, I guess we just keep reading it.
Yes.
So the Hanson, Mr. Belvis, the principal at the Hanson Middle School, received a donation from the Wampatuck Lodge, the Puritans, and, the Masons, and that is for $276, and that's to help offset some of the bus transportation for the local 8th grade trip, so that would lower the cost of students by a few dollars each, divided by what that is.
We can do both at the same time.
Okay, that's one, that's for Mr. Belvis. Yep. And then the second one is that the Hanson Rotary Club also made a donation for the students who are not going on the trip. And what happens usually is that the trip is up to anyone who wants to go, and when it doesn't take place, they wrote a check for $200. For the students that stay back, both schools, but in this case, Hanson Middle School, they try to provide a little different type of things for students, whether that's their separate day field trips that they come back from, whether that's outside event, a field day, or whether that's pizza, under the lights or whatever it is. They try to do something so that all students have an enriching time, knowing that some students who didn't go will still have it. So one is for the Rotary Club, $200 for those students not participating, and one is from the Wampatuck Mason Lodge for $276 to offset some of the cost of the transportation for those students attending.
Can I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor of accepting the donation? Okay, unanimous. Okay, Regional Agreement Committee Subcommittee report. And before we do that, Steve is not going to give his report for the Pilgrim area till June.
Yeah.
He's going to hold it till June.
Meetings, and I'm sorry I'm a little bit behind, so.
Yeah.
Okay.
Regional agreement, we met last month, right? We're in May. We put changing the busing formula to bed. We all discussed, and I think I said this before, we've moved and have come so far with the regional agreement. We have a timeline, and we're really hoping to get the regional agreement finalized and submitted to both towns at next year's Springtown meetings. And at least on the Hanson side of things, we felt that if we changed, and especially in a year like this year with the overrides and things, the regional agreement wouldn't go through. And so all this work that we have all done, Ms. Otina's not here anymore, but I was like, I've been on this, and I've been on it longer than you, and just talking about all the work that we have done and how changing that formula is probably not the best and wisest decision right now if we want to get the agreement accepted. We are taking the month of May off just because there's a lot happening in both towns in the month of May. And our next meeting date is June 4th prior to our school committee meeting. June 3rd, June 4th. What day is that? June 4th. Before our school, the 3rd is the Tuesday. I have it there. Yeah. So that is all.
Okay, thank you. Public comment.
Anyone?
Yes, Ms. McKeon. Yep, we have public comments here from association.
Hi, everybody. If we could, we wanted to address, we know we have an executive session tonight. We just wanted to make some comments about negotiations, if we could.
Cindy McGann, WHA, Kevin Kafka. On behalf of WHA, we'd like to send you into executive session with some discussion points and matters to consider regarding the state of negotiations right now. We're not sure what the current dynamic is between the school committee members and the Whitman-Hanson administration team, but we're concerned about how this has begun to impact our negotiations. We've made significant progress in negotiations and good faith bargaining, and are apprehensive about how this is going to affect us moving forward with Unit A and our other units. As the weeks pass and the opportunities slip by, we run the real risk of not being able to ratify a contract before the end of the school year. Since the change in representation from school committee, our process has been derailed and come to a complete standstill, and we're experiencing what we feel to be unfaithful actions, which have ultimately put the whole process in jeopardy. It's brought us to the point of questioning whether or not a good faith effort is being made. In an effort to have this clarified for us, we've reached out and sought legal opinion on this matter. We're asking the school committee to reevaluate your role and the representation that you have in this process to ensure we can get back to the table and continue discussions on bargaining for a new contract. As of right now, we have no further meetings scheduled to negotiate because of this issue. We hope to hear from you over the next couple of days so we can schedule a meeting and continue to work toward a new contract. We'd also like to be very clear that up until these recent events, all talks and discussions with the administration of Whitman-Hanson have been active, reasonable, respectful, and productive. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay. All right, so I will need a motion. We're going into executive session for a few things. To discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining, litigation, if open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the beginning or litigating position of the public body, and chair so declares, litigation, collective bargaining, and a review of executive session meeting minutes.
Motion.
Second.
Okay. And this is a roll call vote. Stephanie?
Yes.
Kara?
Yes.
And Rosemary?
Yes.
Chris?
Yes.
And
Yes.
Steph?
Yes.
Glenn?
Yes.
Darren? And Steve and Steve?
Yes.
And me, yes. Okay?
We take it.